Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started because we have a lot of information to share. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hannah Nieder. I am with the Christopher and Reeve Foundation's Peer and Family Support Program. And welcome to today's webinar where we are closing out National Mentoring Month with our webinar called The Mentoring Project. So here we will share information about the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation Mentor Program. And I am joined today by Amy Morgan, Amy Wave, who is one of our amazing mentor volunteers. We also have with us our special guests, Dr. Donna Walton and Shamika Andrews of the Divas with Disabilities Project. So thank you for joining me and this amazing panel as we'll discuss a very important topic on mentoring. So just a couple of notes. There is closed captioning. If you don't have closed captioning enabled, you can hit the CC button at the bottom of your screen. Also, there is a question and answer box. So I will be keeping an eye on that during this webinar. If you have a question, please put it in that question box, and we will have time at the end of this webinar to answer all of those questions. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and start our introductions of this amazing panel. I guess I'll start. So my name is Hannah Nieder. Like I said, I am with the Christopher and Dana Reeve Peer and Family Support Program. I am also a caregiver for my husband who has a C5 level injury, and I met him about 5 years ago. My description. So I am a young Asian American woman, and I have dark curly hair, and I'm in a green knit sweater. So I'm very excited to also introduce Miss Amy Morgan, who is one of our superstar mentors. I have come to love Amy and her just bubbly personality. Amy is a victim of violence and has been a mentor with us for several years. And Amy, I'll turn it over to you.
Hello, everyone. As she said, I am a mentor. I love what I do. I work with multiple organizations. I work with UAB Hospital. I work with Save the Youth organization. It's a lot of organizations that I work with. I love what I do. I am a T4 Asia A. So that means I'm paralyzed from my chest down. That's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. And next, I want to introduce Dr. Donna Walton, who is the founder of the Divas with Disabilities Project, which focuses on serving Black women and women of color with disabilities. So Dr. Walton.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, I am Donna Walton. I am a Black woman with curly hair, and I'm wearing a black and white blouse today. So I'm delighted to be here first and foremost. Let's see, where do you start? Author, activist, proponent of leading and ensuring that Black and brown women, people with disabilities, women with disabilities in particular, are fully included and represented in the mainstream of life. My story begins when about 40 years ago, can't believe it's been that long, I was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, and as a result had to have an amputation of my left leg. And that began the trajectory of my sort of whole story about where I am today in terms of my advocacy and activism around ensuring that Black women and brown women are represented, because I had that vision, I had that dream to become an actress, to be a performer, but life took different turns. But also during this whole time, I was confronted with challenges, discrimination, being left out, almost being erased. So the Divas with Disabilities was born out of several movements, my desire to want to be on stage again, but not having that opportunity because of not being the stigma around disability, and also my need to and desire to elevate other women and empower other women, mentor other women around knowing that because of their disability, that did not make them that did not take away from who they were as women. And so that begins my story. And Divas is like I said, a conglomeration of all of the things that I sort of stand for.
Awesome. Thank you, Donna. And last but not least, Ms. Shamika Andrews, who is a disability rights advocate and consultant. So Shamika.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shamika Andrews. I am a Black woman. I wear dark glasses. I currently have a Black turban on my head, and I'm wearing a fuchsia top and jacket. I'm glad to be here. Just a little introduction about me. I am an adult with spina bifida. I use a power chair for mobility. I've been a disability advocate and consultant for almost 20 years now. And it's important to me to make sure that people with disabilities have access to every area in life they so choose. I offer workshops in the areas of self-care, self-advocacy, and disability awareness. I am also work part-time for several nonprofits, one being the Self-Advocacy Association of New York State as their community outreach coordinator, as well as other non-for-profits such as the Developmental Disabilities Planning Council and the Miss Wheelchair New York program, which is a program, advocacy and empowerment program for women who use wheelchairs.
Amazing. Well, that concludes our panel today. We have, as you can see, some strong women with us today. So I want to go ahead and open up about our main topic, which is mentoring. So for us, Amy and I, we are with the Peer and Family Support Program with our mentor group. So you may ask, what is the Peer and Family Support Program that I keep mentioning? So we think that the best source of knowledge is experience. And so for people living with paralysis and their family members and caregivers, it's vital to speak to other people that just understand and get the day-to-day. So that is where our mentor program began. And this was launched back in 2011, so over 12 years ago. And we serve people that are living with paralysis. We serve their family members and caregivers as well. And then we even have a lot of physical therapists, occupational therapists, friends of the person with paralysis that reach out to us. And we can provide, both mentorship and also resources and information in conjunction with our information specialist team. So we serve people living with paralysis caused by any condition. We serve family members who do not caregive for their loved ones. We also serve caregivers who are not related to the person with paralysis. So for any individual, we always try to find a mentor that matches their situation and can relate to them. Currently, we have over 500 mentors and partner groups. As Amy mentioned, she is part of one of our partner groups. So we have served over 22,000 peers since the program began, which, is just so important. And I'm so happy that we are bringing attention to all the different types of mentoring programs available. So with mentoring, we have heard from a lot of the peers, just the immense benefits of mentoring. And, a lot of our mentoring is done virtually. So it's not that you're having to meet up with somebody face to face. It could just be a text, email, or phone call. And, you're just asking questions about day to day, or maybe you just need a vent and you maybe feel isolated. So we've had so much great feedback from all of our peers about just feeling included into a community, having somebody that understands them at such a fine level that you have an instant best friend. So that is what we aim for. That is why we do what we do here. And I know that all of our volunteers feel the same. So just a couple high pointers here. So for matching with mentors, we always try to find, like I mentioned, somebody who is as close to you as possible. And this is in terms of, location, of course. I did mention most of our mentoring is done virtually, but if there is somebody in your general location, that can be a consideration. Most importantly is mobility level. So we know injury level plays into this, but we always ask, what is your mobility level? What mobility devices do you use? And we know that these are huge factors in just quality of life and how you get around and how you operate. So that is definitely something that we look at, including age, gender, just what you're doing, what your interests are, what hobbies you're interested in. And so if you are interested in talking to a mentor, we will have our link in the chat. It's already posted in there. And we also will be sending out the links after this webinar, in addition to a recording of this webinar. So please feel free to reach out to us with any additional questions. And I want to turn it over to Amy, as she is one of our mentors. And, I have witnessed firsthand what an impact she has made on an individual. I remember the first time I called Amy, asking her to reach out to an individual who was really struggling with, feelings of anger, because they were also a victim of violence and couldn't come to terms with how to get over that and how to start living her life and how to find herself again, because she had so much residual anger from her accident. So Amy was amazing, took on this peer and was so open about her experience in her life. So Amy, I want to turn it over to you and, have you explain why you started or why you became a mentor and what you do as a mentor and what you've gained from mentoring as well.
Okay, so the reason why I wanted to be a mentor is because when I first got injured, it wasn't anybody that looked like me coming to my room to tell me what my life was going to become. Nobody it was all able-bodied people. They was like, oh, you can do this, you can do that, you can put your own clothes on, you can do this. And I'm like, you don't understand, my whole life is upside down right now. I don't know what I'm going to do. And you're telling me what I can do. But to have somebody that's like me that I see, it's like, wow, we can relate to each other. So that's why I wanted to do it, because when I first woke up and they were telling me all of this stuff that I can do, and I'm looking at them like, how do you know what I can do? You don't understand where I'm coming from. No, this isn't gonna work. So that was the main reason why I wanted to be a mentor, because I wanted to give back and let them know, hey, I got you. We got each other. What I don't know, hey, we're gonna figure it out together. And what we can't figure out, we're gonna call somebody else. Okay, we're gonna work it out together. So that was my biggest thing of why I wanted to be a mentor. What brings me joy in being a mentor is to see people make small steps and they're so happy. They're like, oh my God, I did this. Guess what I did today? And I'm like, oh, we did it. Oh, it makes me happy to see them happy. And I mean, it just brings me so much joy and so much peace to give back, because I remember the days when I couldn't talk. I remember the days when I couldn't sit up. I remember the days when I couldn't dress myself. I couldn't brush my teeth. So all the things that I can do now and that I could teach other people how to do is just it makes me feel so good. And that's why I love doing what I do and going out and talking to different people.
Yeah. And Amy, you bring such great energy. And so how do you approach that peer the first peer that I assigned you, how do you approach somebody who is coming from a place of anger and, wants to understand where you are now, but, is at the beginning stage of, their recovery?
I know I had a issue with a little anger at first, because I was like, I just don't want to be like this. This isn't fair. But after you sit back and you say, okay, when I look at them and I know that they're mad and they're angry about their situation, they're going to come off mad at you, but they're really not. They're just mad about what they're going through. So I take it and say, okay, how can I make your day better? How can I put a smile on your face? What can I do to bring you rainbows right now? And so they were like, who talks like that? What? And so at that, it's like an icebreaker. And so once I do stuff like that, then they kind of let that calm spirit come over them, and they're not so mad anymore. And they're like, oh, you're really cool. Have fun. So you just got to meet people where they are and just try to give them a little positivity while you're meeting them where they are. That's how I do it.
I love that. Meeting them where they are, understanding that everybody's different with the recovery journey, with, the grief roller coaster, which includes anger. That's one lesson that I learned very early. And it was so impactful when I said something and the person I was talking to stopped and they were like, wow, I can talk about a BAL program without it being weird. I can talk
Right.
about, the things that are real, but aren't kind of talked about in society. And it was so eye-opening for me. And I know that you do that with all of your peers. So there's just so much wealth in speaking to peers as a mentor, because it's beneficial on both sides. It's not really a mentor to peer relationship. It really is a friend to friend. And Amy, you might have more experience than the peer that I match you with, but over time with that friendship, you're kind of bouncing things off of each other and maybe, communicating to each other what success you have, or, maybe needing a vent session.
That's true. That's true.
Awesome. Well, again, we have many mentors like Amy. And like I mentioned, when I was matching a peer to Amy, I also look at, how the injury occurred, or, it could be a surgical procedure or via stroke. And so there's all different types of paralysis, and we do our best to match, mentor to peer based on all the circumstances available. Thank you, Amy, for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And I will turn it over to Dr. Walton, Miss Donna, to share more about the Divas with Disabilities project.
Thank you. So, Amy, that's a wonderful story. And I like how you sort of embody what you knew, you understood what other folks would need, right? In order to their spirit to embrace what's happened to them, but to know that that's not the end of what's, of their world. And so that's right on. That's exactly what mentoring is. And that's a great segue for Divas, because Divas really morphed into the mentoring model. Divas starts off as a digital Facebook group whereby women came to talk about the same issues that we had alike, or that issues that are lived experiences. And from that, there was a spark for me, because I basically generated these conversations around what my life story is, and that is not being included in the sort of performing industry, or not being seen, if you will, on television and film. We knew that, so we all came with that commonality that we had these physical disabilities, but yet we were not being represented. And so that's how Divas sort of kind of came into being. And then it morphed into, and I always use this morph because that's what I think it is. It's morphing into all these different sort of phases. And so it went from the digital Facebook group to now a support group. When you think about it, it's a large support group, network, a community of women that come together with the same vision, similar life experiences, all sort of coalescing around empowerment and leadership being seen. So Diva was grown out of the word diva, but diva was not determined to be the connotation of what divas, most people have divas to be, which is accurate, but it also wanted to embrace the fact that it flipped the script, that women could be divas, women with physical disabilities could be divas. And we wanted to show that diva and disability could coexist in a single person, because the attitudes toward diva and disability, there was a disconnect. So it was a great opportunity to show, yeah, we are divas. We're dynamic, illuminating, victorious, achieving sisters. And we own our disabilities. And we show up unapologetically in our spaces, boldly and proudly. And there's no need to do anything else but just do that, show up. And that's where Divas, I think that's where we get our power. We show up. And one of the ways we show up is through our monthly Diva calls. We show up on those Diva calls because that's where we can talk about, it's a safe space where we can talk about our topics that are interest to us. And the topics can range from, dating to what is it like going into doctor's offices and it's not accessible. So the topics, really range. And so that's the part of the mentoring that really comes in. But just to not to skip over the really other important aspects of what Divas does is we work with casting agencies and film directors and all the performance industries, if you will, the arts, so that they understand that we are here, that Divas are here as a pipeline to serve, to be cast, to be employed. So that's one of the sort of cornerstones of what we do. We serve as that resource to the Hollywood industry or to performing industry, arts industry, that we are here and that we too should be seen and cast, in these particular roles. And we want to show up in roles that are not traditionally looked at. Why is it that we cannot participate in an event if we want to? Why not, right? I mean, it's like physical disabilities with women. There's always a lot of stigma around women with physical disability. And that's why we focus on physical. And it's not that we do not embrace and serve, if you will, women with non-obvious disabilities. But it's just that that's our lived experience. And we know, basically based on the statistics, that is what society sees is typically where the most discrimination is pervasive. So, we just basically try to be that resource and be available to industries, right, if they want to cast. And so the question is always asked to me, just why Black and brown? Well, it's Black and brown basically because of the experiences, the lived experiences, but also because of the erasure that exists around people of color and being in these industries, and also the lack of representation. I mean, there's a lack of representation. I know it sounds like a broken record, but there's a lack of representation of Black women and girls with visible disabilities in mass media. And that's the focus. There is, and like 1 in 4 people in the United States, 26% of the population has a disability, but fewer than 2%, of those individuals are on character, our characters in the film. That's why it's Black and brown, because we are just not represented. And it's just really that simple. But we accept all women with disabilities. If you want to be a diva, you are a diva, but just know that maybe some of the mentoring may not be as close to your lived experience, because that's not where our lived experience comes from. I know I talked about our once a month monthly Diva calls, but we also have our Diva Ambassador program. Now, the Diva Ambassador program, Global Diva Ambassador program, I should say, that's where Shamika comes in. And Shamika and, our divas who are volunteers who sort of implement and elevate our mission around what we do. Because we know that if it exists in America, in the US, it also exists other places. And even though Shamika is not in another country, we decide to broaden the meaning of what Global Diva Ambassador. We want to be in other countries, and we are, as a matter of fact. That's why I put the new logo. We're in Africa, we're in Ghana. We have a chapter in Ghana. We have a partnership with an organization called the Challenge Foundation. And they doing just that. They have decided to partner with Divas because they want to model what we do here in Ghana. So we're really pleased about that. And we have Diva sort of chapters, global Diva ambassadors, if you will, in other parts of the country as well, of the world, I should say. And we have the national Divas, global Diva ambassadors, which Shamika can talk more about her role and what she does. So do I turn it over to Shamika now, so she can join us and help me out with all these wonderful things we're doing with Divas?
Absolutely, I will take over. Thank you, Donna. Yes, as Donna said, I am one of the Global Diva ambassadors. I am from New York, the state of New York. I live in Albany, New York, which is, every time I say I'm from New York, most people think of the city. I actually live 3 hours from the city, live in the capital, even though people argue about whether it's the capital or not, but that's aside. So the Global Diva Ambassadors and my role has really, acted as a mentor and, for me, the other divas, and as Donna mentioned, are the diva calls, being in that environment and learning from all of the other women, being able to get support, emotional support, financial support on what I'm doing here in New York. And some of the projects that Divas has helped me with is I helped to start a program, Prideability. Prideability is it's a group of people and a website. So it's a group of people it's a statewide group, and it is to act as support for individuals who are LGBT plus. So we get together and talk about issues which that particular group deals with, how we can meet those challenges. And we've also, with the support of Divas, been able to start a website to provide online resources and trainings and various other things that have been very important in that arena. So being able to receive mentorship from Divas has helped me to then go and enhance my work and be a mentor to others. So I've really appreciated all of the support and that I received from Divas. And like Donna said, they have a wealth of projects with supporting Divas around the world. So I'm glad to be one of those people, and just mentoring has really helped me in my advocacy and my leadership, and just being able and more confident in my leadership and that role, and stepping out and saying, hey, here I'm raising my hand to do, whatever it is that I might have been afraid to do before. So it's really helped me in that role, in enhancing my leadership and my advocacy, and really stepping out there and saying, this is the things that are important to me and the things that I think we need to pay attention to.
I just want to say, regarding Shamika's work as a program manager for the Prideability project. And then we received funding from the Urgent Action Fund for that project. And Shamika led that. I mean, it was just phenomenal how she created this whole concept, because we understood, and Shamika really brought it to the forefront in terms of transgendered individuals are male but identified female are divas. Why would they be excluded from being a diva? So we wanted to really bring that to the forefront to let them know that they're more inclusive than ever. They are divas. And so Tamika created that project, and it's a website, as she's mentioned, to put all these resources together to serve that particular population that sometimes may not see themselves in these groups because it's not talked about. So we wanted to make sure that the LGBTQ plus community was aware that they too are a part of Divas as well.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's an area I continue to work in here in New York. And like, we're continuing to enhance the website and enhance the resources. So if people feel that they fit into that category and want to reach out and connect, that's greatly appreciated. Like I said, being a mentor and having somebody that you can kind of look up to, because I know for me, I didn't always have that. Growing up, I didn't have somebody that looked like me, or that I could relate to, or until I started joining groups like Divas and like the Miss Wheelchair New York program, where there were other women who were in wheelchairs or had physical disabilities like me. So just being able, like those commercials, what they say, if you can see her, you can be her, you can see yourself, to say, okay, this diva, is in Africa and she's doing this, all these things and feeding kids and doing whatever, she's doing. So I can do that. I can do that here, and being able to see that in somebody else and go back and say, I can do that too, and having that mentor that you can look up to and say, yes, thank you for helping me to see myself in you.
Absolutely.
Shamika, what's the address? I mean, the website.
And I think
Yes.
that's so important. I love that point, just visibility, and that builds confidence. When a young woman sees somebody that looks like her, that's, cast in this role and can be that celebrity figure, that builds confidence. That builds the pride in yourself and how you may appear because you see somebody who has fully owned it and is out there just focusing on, acting. And it's not just because they have a disability, it's because they are an actress. And
Exactly.
I love that so much. And I do want to point to the Divas with Disabilities Project's website because they have resources available on one of their links. And that has, casting calls, which I thought was really cool. You have that updated list of agents, casting companies, open auditions. So I feel like everybody should go check that out. There's also good information about scholarships and programs, and then also a talent pipeline. So I love that. And I think we always say, we see sometimes in some of these like huge movies, and I am not an actress. I don't understand what it takes to be an actor, actress, but you see sometimes able-bodied people portraying, a person with disability. And, as I've kind of joined this community, I met my husband 6 years ago now, so I'm still kind of relatively new. But, that's something that I realized more after the fact, why couldn't they cast somebody that was a wheelchair user for this role? Because I know there's talent, and it's something that I think we should talk about more and fight for. And I love that that's, part of your platform.
Absolutely. And that's a major part of our platform. I'm so glad you pointed that out. And I'm sorry, Shamika, for cutting you off.
No. All of these are good. You feel free to chime in.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make on the thing of mentoring and mentoring other people. We started our group in New York State, but part of what we are also doing with the help of other people that are in our group is helping others in other areas start groups, in their areas as well, to give support, to give mentorship. So that's part of what Prideability is also doing, is helping other people set up groups and set up projects in other areas outside of New York State. We've talked we've given trainings at national conferences and things like that, which we'll continue to do. And like I said, giving people that support to set up groups in their areas to work on the things that are important to them.
Absolutely. And now we're seeing more in our mainstream media with, wheelchair users. And, Amy, I don't know if there's specific companies that you've seen, but for example, Skims and their adaptive underwear. I don't want to throw out companies, I guess, but there's been a lot, and it's so great to see. And Amy, I just kind of want to ask you, how does that make you feel as a wheelchair user, as a woman with a disability, seeing these products that are made with you in mind?
I think when I see people, it's called The Upside.
Yeah, with Kevin Hart.
Yes, I love that movie. But did you know that the guy that was playing the role is an able-bodied person?
Yes, that's
like
who
that bothers me so bad, because I'm like, you could have got one of us. We could have did it. Like, this is how we really live. Like, why? Like, so I'm sorry, I had to get it out. But yeah, so I think, when they try to make things for us, or they want to, I don't want to say mock us or whatever the case may be, just put us in that situation. Like, let us do what we know to do. Just let us do it. Let us be us. Like, ain't nobody play us better than us.
Right. Yeah, there's been a
So-
couple of those really popular movies, and I agree, because when you watch The Upside, it is great. It's so funny, it's relatable. You know, my husband and I were like laughing the whole time because we do so many of the things that they were portraying. So they did a really good job. But the fact remains that they used an able-bodied person to portray a wheelchair user. And again, there's advocacy that's needed because he did an amazing job.
He
You know,
did.
and you can't say anything about the acting that he did and the time he put and effort he put into learning that role, which is amazing and starts the conversation. But absolutely, you can pull from different talent pools and have an individual who lives that day to day, because who could portray it better, right?
Exactly. That's what I
You know,
say.
that-
Like, one of my close friends, her name is Carnisha. We always talk about, like, man, why are we not out there? Why don't people know about this? Like, do you know how much stuff we do on the day-to-day basis? We're like, we need to get out there. People need to see that we do more stuff in a wheelchair than people do that are able bodies. Like, we need to be out open for people to see, like, hey, they got it going on. They popping. But they don't see it because, don't nobody really see people that's in wheelchairs do anything. Like, they always think we're just at home, or we don't go anywhere, we don't have a job, like we don't live alone. They think, I don't know what's wrong with the world. They think crazy things. But and we always talking, I'm like, hey, how can we get out there to let them know that we live alone, we work, we do so much stuff. And every time we get together and we'll do like we'll go live and people be like, oh, I didn't know y'all did this. I didn't know you worked at a hospital. I didn't know this. And I'm like, yeah, we do this type stuff, y'all. We the truth. But it's just so hard for people to, I guess, see us in their light. And it's sad, but it's true.
And
Well,
it's really hard to put yourself out there and be open to the lives and all the questions that come in. And, I think we need more of that, more visibility, more representation, more influencers out there who are sharing their real life and what it is to be, have paralysis or a disability or be a wheelchair user or, any number of things. There's so much that comes from education. With that kind of content comes education, because people are learning, wow, Amy gets out and she looks beautiful and look at her makeup. And I have so many questions, like, where do you get your clothes? It's real life and it's relatable. And I think people are missing that, when they think of disability, it's a whole different community, but it's not. It's intermixed. And, there's people from all different communities in one large community. And we just need to work on being more visible, educating people on what day-to-day life is like. And, even from a caregiver, you can't see that I'm a caregiver when I step outside. The normal people that look at me are probably never going to think that I'm a caregiver for my husband. But it's something that once I started being more vocal about it, I became more confident about it. And, sometimes I have to say, look, I have to go home, or I have to leave this dinner with my friends because, maybe my husband had an accident, and that's just real life. And I need to go home and help him clean up. So, there's a big step when it comes to feeling comfortable talking about some of those things. But I will say, I found that comfortability when I first met somebody who was also a caregiver, who I could talk to about these things. And then it wasn't just me holding it all in. I found somebody who I could talk to about it. And I realized how much better that made me feel, even as just a caregiver, So that is what motivates me to continue mentoring. And that's what motivates me to volunteer my time to, put life, just on a pedestal and let people know, like, things happen. Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, Donna,
No,
I think
you just made the points that have been made are so valid. And it just, a bell just went off. Amy Morgan. Okay. I'm not going to even say what I know, but anyway.
What we know, girl, what we know.
Big things are coming your way. But I will say, and I probably will give a little peep into something that we're doing, a project that Divas is involved with. But the most important thing that we've been talking about is seen and being heard and showing up. And I know we say that as a cute little theme, but showing up really is part of our work too. We do have to show up, and we don't just show up as divas, but we show up as qualified divas. Because one thing we have to be sure of, Hollywood will come looking, but you got to be ready. I mean, they're not going to just choose you because you have a disability. That's not it. You have to be prepared. And so that I want to really emphasize that point in terms of, there's work to be done. A lot of progress has been made, but there's still more to be done in terms of representation. And so my sort of offering to that is that mentoring is empowerment, because the more I see that I am not alone on this journey, that gives me more courage. So that's one of the things I think Divas fills that void. If you see that there are many sisters like you rocking and rolling, then that gives you the courage, that gives you the power to know. In contrast to my story, I mean, I'm somewhat jealous actually, because I lost my leg during a time when there was zero. And the best example I had of someone being active, if you will, was Edward Kennedy's son at the time. I don't know if you guys even old enough to remember that, but anyway, so Edward Kennedy had a son who had an amputation. And that was the example I was given, because he was a skier, he skied. And so they would come into my room, the doctors would come into my room and says, oh, you're going to be fine because you'll be able to ski. Well, as 18-year-old, I'm not concerned about skiing. As a girl, I'm concerned about wearing a dress. I'm concerned about, being, just having my femininity back, if you will, my self-confidence and being a girl. I mean, girls are socialized to be girls, and we're focused on our body image. We're focused on our identity is critical at that point. And so I'm only making those because we have many more. We have come such a long way in terms of imagery and representation. So we do know what it can be. So now the role really is on us. And yes, it's a fight, absolutely. I mean, if I can tell you how many roles I've auditioned for and how many I've actually received, but you know what? You stay the course. You stay the course because you will get cast, but you have to come prepared. So when you walk away from the table, it's not about I didn't get it because I wasn't good. No, you are phenomenal. But there are others too, so, but you just stay the course because your time is coming. You will get selected. And because they are seeing that people with disabilities, and women in particular, are not just these pitiful souls, non-sexualized beings that don't know how to live, that don't have talent. And I think that's why Divas exist again, because we own it. And, we can walk into a room and belong and feel like we belong because we have that confidence. Now, that doesn't say that things are not happening to us behind the scenes, but once we walk out that door, you want society to see this is what it looks like. So we're reshaping what disability looks like, if you will. Giving it a new lens, looking at it through a new lens and just a new focus. Like when I look into the mirror, I don't see that I have one leg. I see that I have two legs. Just that you can't see the other, but I see them. I see my legs, and that's how I live my life. I live my life because it does not make a difference. I am not, and women are not with disabilities, the sum of their body parts. It's a detail, it's a characteristic, but it doesn't define the whole self. So right. Divas embodies all of that. It embodies all of that.
And we love it. Shamika, I did want to ask you, is there a specific instance or time when you maybe had a mentor or when you were mentoring that gave you courage to do something that, maybe you potentially didn't think you could?
Like I said earlier, Divas has really helped me to kind of step more into that leadership role and be comfortable with that. If I can think of a specific example, I remember when I was volunteering for the Miss Wheelchair New York competition. And I was a volunteer behind the scenes, and I was doing hospitality and things like that, doing all the behind the scenes stuff. And then the coordinator approached me. There's two separate times, actually. First time she approached me to be a contestant. And I was like, at the time I was in college, and everybody was like, you should do public speaking, and you should do this, and you should do that. And at the time I was taking oral presentation in school, and I hated it. And I'm like, I'm not doing public speaking. I hate public speaking, and I don't have anything to do with it. Well, as you can see, that's changed. So eventually I did compete and won in 2006. And so that was definitely stepping out of my comfort zone and having that mentorship from that coordinator at that time, and stepping into that leadership role. And then again, I had to step into that leadership role and kind of step out of my comfort zone when that coordinator stepped down and said, how would you like to be coordinator? So I was like, you want me to do what? So those are two instances, really, specific instances where I kind of stepped out of my intern comfort zone and really stepped in with the help and the convincing of, my mentors, and saying, yes, you can do this. We have faith in you. And that's what I get from Divas. That's what I get from, Miss Wheelchair New York and these other organizations that, sometimes we don't see, the good in ourselves, and we need that person to say, hey, wait, you can do it this way. And, you can step out there and you can do this. And, and sometimes we need that person, the outside person, to look and see, I see this in you, and I have faith in you, and I trust in you. So that's really been helpful for me to, like I said, step out of my comfort zone and step into those leadership roles and say, oh, okay, yeah, she's saying I can do it, so maybe I can.
Absolutely. And you know what, Amy, I'm going to throw this same question to you, maybe with also, what would your call to action for mentoring be? But while you prepare your answer, Shamika, I want to say, like, what I hear from that story is, number one, you put yourself in that position. You were there, you were present, you were volunteering, you were in school at the time, but you were taking time to volunteer for this organization. So first and foremost, you put yourself in the right place at the right time. And then second, you were open to the idea and ready for a challenge. And yes, you had a great mentor at the time, but that's what's most important. We never, with our mentoring group, we never want to pressure anybody. We only reach out to people who confirm that they're interested in mentoring. And so, if you're not ready to talk to somebody, that is completely okay. And we always say, we're always going to be here. So that any given time you're ready, come back to us. But it takes a lot of courage to, Shamika, back, however many years ago that was, back in 2006 or prior to that, when you first started, it takes a lot of courage to say, yes, I'm open to this, and teach me more, tell me more. So it didn't just happen for a reason. You made that happen. And I love what Donna was saying. You not only showed up, but you showed out. So, there's no question why you won back in 2006. So anyway, so Amy, I want to turn it over to you with that same question. What was impactful about mentoring, or was there, if there was a specific instance where you were talking to a mentor or where you were mentoring, you know, that incited courage or gave somebody the feeling that they could accomplish something that they didn't think prior?
So yeah, before I became this person that likes to speak all the time, back in when I first got injured in 2010, I used to go to the hospital all the time, and people like, "Oh, you so bubbly. Why don't you try out for Miss Wheelchair Alabama?" And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to be in no screen and talking to people. That's not what I want to do. And they was like, "But you would be so good. Like, just try." And I'm like, "Mm, I don't know." So it took me all the way into 2012 to actually try out and tried, and I did it, and I won Miss Wheelchair Alabama 2012. And so after I did it, I was like, "I did." Like, I was shocked because I didn't think I was going to win, number one, and I was the only Black female that actually, tried out for it. And I was like, "Whoa, I'm not gonna win," because everybody else was not, it wasn't us, it was them. So I was like, "Oh no, like I'm gonna lose." And so when they said I won, I was just kind of like, "Oh, I did it. Like, I did it, child. I did it for us." So that was big for me to like step out and do that because I wasn't a pageant girl, like all the stuff they asked you to do, and that was just not me. I just like to have fun and, make somebody happy. That's all I like to do. So when they asked me to be in the pageant, I was kind of like freaking out because I was like, "Wait, what do I have to do? Like, I gotta do what?" But I'm kind of glad that they made me do it. Like all of my doctors and everybody was like, "You will win. You will win. We promise you, you will win." And I was just like, if I don't win, I know something. But ever since then, I haven't stopped talking and mentoring and people helping me. It's just been up since then.
Yeah. And I do want to, somebody in the chat, Thomas, said when he was training new mentors, his main takeaway is listening, so being a great mentor means you're a great listener. And I did want to bring attention to that because that is so true. You get paired with different peers. Some may be more interested in learning what's possible for them. And that's where, I think we're talking about, you're telling them about experiences that you can do, and then that excites them and lets them know what's possible. But at the same time, sometimes they just want to vent, or sometimes, they are trying to explain their situation and trying to figure out what they can do to either improve that situation or just learning what's possible for them. So thank you, Thomas, for that point. Absolutely. That's where I think Shamika said it at first, you got to meet somebody where they are. And, as a mentor, that's huge. Just reading that emotional, I guess, meter of where you feel like your peer is, what they're ready for, and then giving it piece by piece. It could be a long-term relationship where the first time you meet, you're just chatting, not anything about your disability. It's just meeting somebody. And then you can kind of get into, what it is that connects you to. But I want to thank you. We're nearing the end of our webinar. I do want to kind of bring attention back to our mentor groups. I know with the ReFoundation, we are very excited for the year to come. We are planning a lot more outreach, so we're going to be talking to a lot of partner groups. We hope to continue talking with the Divas with Disabilities Project because this is invaluable and this is amazing. And I feel so lucky that I got to be a part of this webinar, but you guys are amazing with what you guys provide for this population. And, I love the conference calls, which reminded me the ReFoundation also has virtual support groups. So those are for, a person with paralysis has their own support group, and then caregivers have a support group as well. So I personally am a part of those support groups, and it's just finding that community and finding people who understand you. And so, again, with the Divas with Disabilities Project, they have their conference calls, and that's monthly. Is that right, Donna? Monthly. And, I know on the website, it says that you guys talk about anything from casting specific questions to, future job prospects, to just talking like friends. And
Oh,
so,
yeah, the one thing that's really great is it's called open mic night. That's Divas Night to talk about, they can perform. It's their night.
oh, awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so all of this information can be found on the website. Is that right? And then we
That is
also
correct.
have a contact email, which is the info@divaswithdisabilities.org. Again, this was posted at the beginning of the webinar. This information, links for the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation and our support groups, peer mentoring, along with the Divas with Disabilities project, website, and email contact information will be sent along with the recording of this webinar. If there's any last minute questions, oh, we have some in the chat. Oh, thank you everybody for chiming in. So everybody's just saying it was a great conversation. Thank you everybody for joining us. If you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out to Donna, and the email will be provided, again, info@divaswithdisabilities.org, or you can reach out to me at peer@christopherreeve.org. But this will all be sent. It's placed back in the chat. So thank you for joining. Donna, Amy, Shamika, thank you so much. You guys are so awesome.
Thank
You
you.
This made my day. Love meeting you guys. Hope to talk to you more in the future. And I know that we'll be doing a lot more with the Divas with Disabilities project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
everyone.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.